Good evening, everybody, and thanks so much for joining us from all across Texas. I'm Will Dupree, coming to you from Austin at KXAN. We are about 15 minutes away from what may be the only debate between the top two candidates for Texas governor. Greg Abbott and Beto O'Rourke will face a number of questions about some of the most pressing issues facing our state. Everything from immigration and the border to schools, guns, and abortion access. Tonight, the debate will be hosted by KXAN's Britt Marino and moderated by Sally Hernandez of KXAN, Gromer Jeffers with the Dallas Morning News, and Steve Spryster of KSAT in San Antonio. Here's a look at the venue where the debate is happening tonight at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley campus in Edinburgh. Earlier, I spoke to our Texas Capitol correspondent Monica Madden from there about expectations for tonight. Monica Madden, thank you so much for joining us from the debate venue. We appreciate you taking the time this evening.
Well, thank you, Will. Happy to be here.
Yeah, everyone who is going to watch the debate tonight is going to notice a lack of reaction from an audience. And Monica, that's because the venue itself is going to remain empty this evening.
Yeah, that's right. All of these seats are going to be empty. There won't be a live audience. And earlier today on the campaign trail, Democratic challenger Beto O'Rourke had a press conference, and he was criticizing the governor, saying that, you know, it was the governor who set these terms to not allow an audience. Beto O'Rourke was repeatedly saying that it was the governor who said no live audience. And Will, I want to do a little fact check and point out that both candidates agreed to terms and conditions set by Nexstar for this debate. So those terms included having it here in the Rio Grande Valley at this facility here in UT RGV campus. Another one of those conditions also included not having an audience. So again, both of those candidates agreed to not have a live audience for this debate. So although you won't be hearing reaction from the crowd, we'll be here getting a temperature, and of course we'll have a lot of reporting on what the energy is like between both candidates, and everyone can see that for themselves on TV and on our live streams.
Yeah, the stakes for this debate are so high for both sides. So how impactful are the two campaigns viewing this debate and what could come out of it?
Well, of course, for Governor Abbott, he has been trailing ahead and polling consistently by single-digit leads. So tonight, he just has to continue to energize his base and, you know, prove to Texans that he deserves a third shot at being their governor. Beto O'Rourke is going to have more of an uphill climb during this debate. Of course, he's been trailing behind in the polls, averaging around 8 points. So tonight for him is really all about just seeing if he can expand that coalition. Most of the voters we've been talking to leading up to tonight, they already have their minds made up. The stark contrast between both candidates are pretty clear here. So O'Rourke is really trying to expand his base and see if he can get more people to come out and show up for him on election night. So again, you know, this is a chance for both of them to really just reiterate their platforms and the issues they stand for and how they will deliver those as Texas governor. So it's a big night for both of them. And Will, I do want to point out, even though the governor is trailing ahead in polling against O'Rourke, this is the closest that any Democrat has come to in the polls since the 90s, when Governor Ann Richards lost her re-election campaign to George W. Bush. So really, even though you still see a significant lead by Abbott, this is the closest that a Democrat has come to unseating the Republican incumbent for governor. So high stakes for O'Rourke here tonight.
Now, the last time these two candidates saw each other face to face was when Beto O'Rourke interrupted that news conference that Governor Abbott had in Uvalde. Today, some of the shooting victims' families came there to Edinburgh, where the debate is happening. And Monica, what do they have to say?
Yeah, that's right, Will. Earlier today, I was at a press conference that Beto O'Rourke had with the victims' families from the Uvalde school shooting. And, you know, it was a really tough tone to hear those families again just talk about the grief and the loss they feel. You know, that was not too long ago that a gunman came to Robb Elementary School and killed 19 children and 2 teachers. So that pain for them is still very raw. And a lot of them have been raising their voices and say they don't have any plans to stop. you can assume because they were with O'Rourke that they are supporting him in this election. And I want to point out that their calls specifically their calls for gun reform really do side with more of the Democratic policy points that O'Rourke has laid out for his campaign. So today, when the families were with O'Rourke, they were again calling on Governor Abbott to call a special session, a special legislative session, to make a couple changes to the state's gun policies as is. Their biggest one is to raise the age limit required to purchase an AR-15 style weapon. That's the type of rifle that the gunman used in Uvalde. So a lot of these parents think that that would have made a difference. He purchased that rifle when he legally turned 18, and they want it to be raised to 21. Now, Governor Abbott, in response, has said that he questions if that's constitutionally possible. He points to a couple different court cases for that, namely the United States Supreme Court in June ruled that their ruling expanded the rights for carrying a handgun, and there's also another district court case pending. But all of this to say, these families, think that that's an excuse. They point to the states like Florida, also a Republican state, which did raise the age limit after its mass shooting in Parkland, Florida. So again, these families are really just making those calls. And I did have a statement from the governor that I wanted to read to you, just his response to the families being there and the calls that they're making. This was a statement from the campaign. It reads, Governor Abbott and First Lady Abbott join all Texas in mourning every single innocent life lost that tragic day. And we pray for the families who are suffering from the loss of a loved one. Governor Abbott visited Uvalde over several weeks to meet individually with over 30 victims' families to provide direct assistance, and every month since the tragedy to ensure they are receiving all the resources and support needed to heal. So again, that was the campaign's response to those families being out there today and making those calls to make some legislative changes, expand or rather restrict gun rights. And they wish that they could be here tonight. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, there's not going to be a live audience, Will.
Monica, we appreciate your reporting and what will come out of the debate tonight. We'll be following you. Thank you again for joining us. During the debate, we are going to gauge what a group of undecided voters here in Texas thinks about what these two candidates say during the debate, and you can all keep track of it live online. Jackie Kingston of KAMR in Amarillo explains how this is all going to work.
Hello from Dallas, as we eagerly anticipate our group of mostly undecided voters who will be with us this evening watching the debate and will be able to gauge their reaction in real time thanks to these dials that those voters will be using to tell us how they feel. They'll be turning it one way if they feel positively about an answer that the candidates give, and the opposite way if they feel negatively about it. They're pretty intuitive. It's going to be great to have that information in real time as we anticipate that these voters are expecting a lot out of the candidates tonight. They're looking for answers on issues like abortion, immigration, inflation, and the electricity grid, and how to make sure that we have access to power regardless of what the weather is doing outside. So we have the opportunity to actually speak with some of the members of the focus group, not only watch it with them, gauge their reaction by the dials, but we'll be getting their feedback on this process, the debate, in real time. That's going to be happening this evening, immediately following our coverage of the debate. Lots to do here in Dallas, but for now, we'll send it back to you.
Recent polling is giving Governor Abbott an advantage over his challenger Beto O'Rourke. Earlier this week, you can see here a poll conducted by Emerson College and The Hill had Abbott leading by 8 percentage points, and that really tracks with some other numbers recently. So what will it take tonight for the incumbent to maintain that lead, or the Democrat to shake up this race even more? Here to provide some analysis now is Dr. Gina Masulo. She's an associate professor at UT Austin's School of Journalism and Media. Dr. Masulo, thank you for being here and for taking the time tonight.
Thanks, Will. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, your expertise and what you study really closely is political debate, so I'm very glad you're a part of our conversation this evening. So I really wanted to get your thoughts about what's at stake for these two candidates. We've mentioned it in the interviews we've done previously, but let's start with Governor Abbott. What do you think it will take for him to have a good night tonight?
Well, I think for both candidates, Abbott and O'Rourke, they need to cast the other as too extreme for Texas. So Abbott really needs to make the case that O'Rourke is too liberal on the border, guns, abortion, and he needs to link him to Joe Biden's policies, in particular the financial woes we're having right now, inflation, and the potential for a recession. O'Rourke, on the other hand, kind of has to do the same thing, but opposite, right? Paint Abbott as too much of a Trump Republican with his trigger law on abortion that banned nearly all abortions in Texas and his failure to enact any gun restrictions following the massacre in Uvalde. So I think key issues are abortion, guns, and the economy.
Yeah, there's been some polling about that, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But let's turn and focus specifically on the challenger, Beto O'Rourke, in this case. A number of polls have him behind and trailing Governor Abbott leading up to the election. What's it going to take for him to come out of tonight as a success?
Well, I mean, I think his main challenge is to get his supporters out to vote for him and convince them that he can win. He's disappointed people in the past. I mean, he ran against Senator Cruz and got very close, but close doesn't really matter if you don't win. And then, he also had the very short campaign for president. So I think his real challenge is to say, I'm viable. I can actually do this. So don't be discouraged and show up and vote for me.
You did mention there about the voters that they potentially will be speaking to. We showed that poll, and bringing this up again, only 5% in that poll just earlier this month showed that they're undecided. So these two candidates have high name recognition. A lot of people know who they are. So who do you think they're gearing their message toward tonight?
Well, I mean, if they're smart, they're fighting for women, Hispanic voters, and obviously undecideds. But the main battle is to get people to come to the polls. I mean, Abbott needs to convince his voters that it's not a slam dunk, like I need you out here. And O'Rourke has to convince his voters, I can do this. Like, you're not going to be disappointed again. So really, their main thrust should be on the people who already like them, but might sit this election out because it's a midterm or they just don't think their candidate can win.
We mentioned the issues that are going to be top of mind for a lot of voters. That polling that we mentioned earlier from the Emerson College and the Hill shows that economy, abortion access, immigration, and healthcare are the top four in that order. What do you make about what will really be the focus of this debate tonight?
Well, I mean, I think those are really important issues, but I think O'Rourke would be foolish if he didn't bring up the electric grid failing, because that's something that crosses party lines. That's something that can attract independents to him, that he can point to Abbott as failing on. So even though that's not one of the issues that was brought up, I don't know in that poll whether that was offered to people or whether they wrote in issues. But I think the electric grid is important for him to bring up.
All right. Well, Dr. Gina Masulo, thank you for taking the time tonight and sticking around with us for this conversation. And I know you'll be watching the debate closely tonight.
I sure will. Thanks so much, Will.
All right, everybody. That, again, is Dr. Gina Masulo with UT Austin, Associate